Growing up in California Central Valley, my life was a blend of challenges and small victories. My early years were spent in a cramped trailer near Fresno, living with my mother and two younger siblings. Our modest home was too close to the Southern Pacific Railroad tracks, where the constant rumble of trains reminded us of our tough circumstances. Despite these hardships, my mother, a dedicated cashier at Bart's supermarket, kept us together after my father Jack Scott left us for another woman. My childhood wasn't easy, but it taught me the value of resilience and determination. My sister Janet and I managed to stay out of trouble. Graduating from high school and moving on to college, I earned a modest scholarship to pursue a marketing degree, while Janet's academic excellence led her to a successful law career. Our younger brother Eric struggled to find his path, often causing tension within the family. Despite our differences, we all saw our own version of success in our tumultuous family. My sister and I avoided pitfalls and completed our education with a modest scholarship. I earned a BA in marketing, while my sister secured a substantial scholarship, eventually becoming a lawyer. Eric, on the other hand, seemed to excel at causing trouble, earning what I joked was an associate's degree in foolishness. Mom would finish her cashier shift at Bart at 5:30 p.m. and come home to make supper. The ground shaking from the 6 p.m. freight train signaled us to stop playing, go inside, and set the table. We moved there after my father left, so it was just Mom raising us. Other than minimal child support, we never heard from our dad again. Despite the turmoil, my sister and I stayed out of trouble and completed high school and college. Thanks to a modest scholarship, I graduated with a BA in marketing. My sister got a better scholarship and eventually became a lawyer. My little brother Eric, however, seemed to focus on being a nuisance. While my sister got along with Eric, he and I weren't close. He always seemed jealous of my successes despite being better looking with his blonde hair and blue eyes. His jobs, grocery stock boy in high school, residential construction, as an adult, were respectable, but he lacked the drive to climb the corporate ladder. He did okay but never reached my income levels. Timing was everything. In 1985, I landed a job as a marketing associate at a California startup that grew into an online giant. 16 years later, I struck gold when it was acquired by a global media giant. By then, I had worked my way up to vice president of marketing and walked away with executive-level stock options and severance money. It was enough to buy a house for my mother, travel the world, drive a Porsche, and live in a mansion with a pool in Palo Alto. However, it also attracted a high-maintenance trophy wife. Life was good until my wealth became incredibly expensive. My trophy wife Tiffany timed everything perfectly, marrying me just weeks before my severance payout. Half of my newly acquired fortune went to her, along with the house and my beloved Porsche, in exchange for no alimony. If not for my lawyer demanding a DNA test, I would have paid 18 years of child support for Paul Jr. The test shockingly revealed that my son was actually my nephew. Tiffany's affair partner and the baby's father was my younger brother Eric, who was married with 2 kids. Despite the heartbreak, the 3 months I spent with Paul Jr. were the happiest of my life, and losing him hurt more than losing Tiffany. It made me realize how much I loved being a father and stirred up feelings about my own father's abandonment. I couldn't understand why my dad left us if being a father was so great. I even made it a goal to piss on his grave. At least Eric didn't escape unscathed. Tiffany wasn't just a homebody, she was a home wrecker. When Paul Jr.'s DNA results came in, Eric's wife Emita took their daughters and flew back to India. Thanks to my lawyer, I dodged child support, and the court replaced my name on the birth certificate with Eric's. Paul Jr. was now just Little Paul. It had been a terrible year. Little Paul was born in April. I discovered the affair in June, hired a private investigator, and filed for divorce in July. It was granted in August, finalizing in March. Depressed and filled with self-doubt, I left my shattered life in California for New Mexico, one of the cheapest states to live in. I wasn't poor, but I wanted to stretch my money. I allowed myself one splurge, a restored 1974 Volkswagen Transporter van reminiscent of my high school and college days. It looked rough, but was mechanically sound, perfect to avoid theft. I drove 950 miles through Arizona to Gallup, New Mexico in 2 days, sleeping at a truck stop in Kingen, Arizona. Gallup, with a population of about 21,000 and an average income of $35,000, was ideal. I stayed in a cheap motel, then found a single-wide trailer in Western Sky Mobile Home Park. It was dingy outside, but in decent shape inside. I bought it for $527. While unpacking, I noticed my neighbor, a small woman with long dark hair and a ponytail. Eager for a friendly connection, I bought a flower arrangement and fresh cookies from El Manita Market. Armed with these, I knocked on her screen door. A small boy with jet black hair and copper skin answered. I introduced myself. "Hello, I'm your new neighbor Paul, and I came to say hello." The boy just stared at me silently. The woman I had seen earlier approached with a suspicious look. "Can I help you?" she asked. She was smaller than I thought, about 411, wearing a simple blue dress and our sandals. From her appearance and accent, I guessed she was Filipina. She had a half smile with the left side of her face drooping slightly, possibly from nerve. Damage. Her budget glasses were held together by duct tape and her left eyelid also sagged a bit. Despite this, she was very pretty. Feeling a hint of optimism, I introduced myself again. Hi, I was just telling your boy that I'm your new neighbor Paul. The first came to say hello. Looking into her nice brown eyes, I remembered the gifts here. These flowers and cookies are for you. She took them, and her suspicious look began to fade into a smile. Thank you, that's very gracious of you. I'm Aurora Santos, but my friends call me Dawn. She nodded at her son. That's Jacob Hunes 4. Don't mind him staring, he does that with men since his father left. She invited me in and made coffee while Jacob enjoyed the cookies. She explained that her ex-husband was in jail for domestic misuse, which caused her PY-like symptoms. At 32, with only a high school education, she worked as a pharmacy cashier and relied on food stamps. I shared my recent divorce and how my wife cheated and tried to pass off another man's baby as mine, which hurt more than losing her. After 2 hours of chatting, we felt like friends. When she hugged me goodbye, the smell of her shampoo and the warmth of her small body made me wish for more than friendship, but it was too soon. The next day, I bought a new mattress, pillows, sheets, kitchen utensils, and a 32 inches flat-screen TV. Then I focused on finding a job. I had half of what was once a large amount of money, now just sizable, mostly in savings. My credit rating was still in the 800s, so I was okay, but knew it wouldn't last forever. I didn't need an executive position, just something to cover groceries. Through a temp agency, I got a job on the loading dock of a shipping logistics company. As the weeks passed, I settled into a routine: breakfast, work, lunch, work, dinner, TV, and sleep. On Saturdays I go grocery shopping and invite Dawn and Jacob along. Since I had a van, it wasn't actually a date, but I enjoyed spending time with them. Jacob was my buddy. If Dawn told him no, I'd secretly buy whatever he wanted and share it later. Sundays were laundry days. After Dawn and Jacob returned from church, we'd walk to the Western Sky laundry room together. DA's laundry always took longer, so I'd help with Jacob and fold clothes, sneaking peeks at her underwear purely out of curiosity. Dawn and I started looking out for each other. When she worked overtime, I'd pick up Jacob from daycare and babysitter him. I got good at his bedtime routine, reading stories until he fell asleep. Sometimes I felt sad thinking about the baby I lost due to Tiffany's infidelity, but I quickly moved on. We exchanged keys to our trailers, and when I got the flu, Dawn found me bedridden and took care of me, cooking chicken tanola and changing my bedding. Unlike Tiffany, who barely helped when I was sick, Dawn was attentive. As September turned into October, I realized I wanted more than just friendship with Dawn, but hesitated due to my insecurity. One Saturday, a rude cashier gave me the push I needed. Dawn was ahead of me in line, and when she used food stamps, the cashier muttered another leech. Dawn's hand shook slightly, and she lowered her head in shame. Angry, I went around my cart, pulled out my platinum card, and handed it to the cashier, saying, "She's no leech, she's my girlfriend, I'll pay." The cashier shut up quickly. I paid for Dawn's groceries and mine, and we left. Looking back, I realized I used money to solve a problem I should have handled differently. My strong feelings for Dawn overrode my social instincts. In the parking lot, I loaded our groceries. As Dawn wiped away her tears, "Thank you, Paul," she said quietly. "You didn't have to do all that playing dumb." I replied, "Do all what? Paying for my groceries and lying about me being your girlfriend." Her soft Filipina accent made girlfriend sound heartwarming. After living next to her for a couple of months, I liked almost everything about her. "Dawn, you don't deserve to be treated like that. I don't mind taking care of you." And Jacob, I paused, lowering my voice, "Besides, it doesn't have to be a lie, you know." Her eyes widened in surprise. "What do you mean?" "Right there by the shopping carts." I impulsively made my move. I hugged her closely. "Not just a friendly hug. What I'm saying is, it's up to you. If you want to be my girlfriend, I'd love to be your boyfriend." I put it out there. She gently pushed away, clearly surprised. I wasn't sorry. It meant I was ready to move on from my ex-wife's torment. I don't know," she stammered. "I need to think about it. I never expected this." While Dawn got in the front seat, I secured Jacob in his child's seat, then drove us home. Back at the trailer, Dawn took Jacob out while I unloaded groceries. After putting hers in her kitchen, I unpacked mine. I was putting away my Twinkies when there was a tap at my door. To my delight, it was Dawn. "Come in. If you were my girlfriend, you wouldn't have to knock," I teased. Dawn entered and sat at my table looking serious. "I asked Mrs. Meyer to watch Jacob so we could talk." "Paul, were you serious about wanting me to be your girlfriend?" I took her hands. "Dawn, I swear on my grandmother's grave, I'm 100% serious. I want us to be a couple." She shook her head. "Why do you want me? It makes no sense. You could have any woman. I'm a broke single mom on food stamps. I have the figure of an ironing board, and I'm disfigured. If I don't use a straw, I drool. My left eyelid doesn't close fully. I wear an eye patch at night. You should be embarrassed to be with me." I groaned in exasperation, angry at what her ex had done to her self-esteem. "Aurora de Santos, that's your opinion, but it's wrong. I thought you were pretty the first day we met." And as I've gotten to know you I found you sweet and kind. I walked around the table, pulled her to her feet, and held her shoulders. And I find you hot as hell. You said I could have any woman. Well, here's a news flash. I want you. I felt it was the right moment to kiss her, so I did. Her unique smile made the kiss different, but enjoyable. Holding her close, I whispered, you're flawless. She sighed, you're a man, Paul Scott, and men are usually wrong, but I want to believe you despite the generalization. She gave her answer, I'll be your girlfriend, but you need to start coming to Sunday Mass with me, and Jacob, you need to be a good role model for my son. She kissed me again, long and soft. Though I wasn't religious, that kiss gave me all the motivation I needed. Agreed, I whispered, unsure about being a role model, but willing to try for her. She interrupted my thoughts, saying, I need to make dinner for Jacob tomorrow. Take me back to the store. I need a few things to make a special dinner for my new boyfriend. She kissed me again, and added, please take things slow, Paul. I've been through a lot, and I'm afraid your feelings may not last. I'm not a big city girl eager to trap a man. If you want my heart, be patient. She walked out, and I admired her as she crossed the driveway with a happy spring in her step. It gave me hope, making me feel worthwhile. The next day, Morin Mir, a retired hairdresser, babysat Jacob, while Dawn and I went grocery shopping. To avoid another condescending cashier incident, I withdrew $200 from an ATM and handed it to her. She tried to refuse, but I insisted, saying, I'm your boyfriend now. If I want to spoil you, it's my prerogative. She looked down and quietly said, thank you, Paul. When we arrived at El Mononita Market, Dawn asked me to wait in the van with Gallup's temperature in the mid-60s. I rolled down the windows and took a nap on the back seat. I woke up to the sound of the side doors opening and bags being loaded. Then I felt Dawn's lips on mine. I pulled her close and whispered, I miss my girlfriend. Noticing the top buttons of her blouse were undone. Hey, I teased, were you trying to make me jealous in the supermarket? Dawn giggled, are you really jealous? I kissed her neck, growling, of course you're my girlfriend. No way I'm letting anyone else have you. Dawn gently pulled away, reminding me about the perishables before getting into the front seat. She kissed me again, saying, you're doing a great job as my boyfriend. Her praise made me insanely happy. Back at the trailers, she picked up Jacob from Mrs. Meyer. While I unloaded groceries, Dawn banished us to my trailer. While she cooked, we watched a Disney movie and played Chutes and Ladders. The delicious smell of roast pork, pork and biscuits wafted through the open windows. When dinner was ready, Jacob eagerly sat at the table, and Dawn served him first. She placed a napkin in my lap and kissed my cheek, explaining the meal. It's machado, a Philippine dish my mother taught me. Beef chuck roast with strips of pork fat, marinated, seared and braised with tomatoes, plus fresh-made biscuits and chocolate rice pudding for dessert. Stunned, I hugged her. Sweetie, this must have been a lot of work. What did I do to deserve it? She kissed my head, saying, you're my man now, taking care of me and my son. As your girlfriend, I can spoil you too. I pulled her into my lap and asked Jacob, hey buddy, can I kiss your mom? With his mouth full, he nodded enthusiastically. I kissed Dawn softly, feeling like I never wanted it to end. When it did, I whispered, Aurora Dawn Santos, I am absolutely falling in love with you. I realized I had everything: a decent job, a good meal, a boy who looked up to me, and most importantly a woman who would never cheat on me. I felt a pang of remorse about Tiffany, but quickly dismissed it. Dawn responded to my declaration with another tender kiss, then dabbed her mouth with a napkin. Eat your machado before it gets cold, she softly chided, filling my plate. Dinner and dessert were delicious. Afterward I cleaned up while Dawn got Jacob ready for bed. She returned as I was about to start on the pots and pans, wrapped the dish towel around my neck, and kissed me. Jacob wants you to help with his goodnight prayers, she said, smirking. I walked to Jacob's room where he was on his knees, hands folded, ready to pray. I joined him, and he seriously intoned, God bless Mommy Lola and Elle in the Philippines, Mrs. Meyer for taking care of me, and Mr. Paul for playing with me and making Mommy happy again. Amen. Realizing it was my turn, I folded my hands and said, God bless my sister Janet and my mom. God bless Mrs. Meyer for being a good neighbor. God bless Jacob for being my new friend. Struggling to think of what to say about Dawn, I added, God bless Dawn for showing me I could love again. Amen. Jacob hugged me, so I picked him up, tucked him in, and kissed his forehead. Good night, little buddy. Good night, Mr. Paul. Tell Mommy she still needs to kiss me. Good night too. I nodded and returned to the kitchen. Dawn was finishing the dishes. I lifted her up and kissed her. Jacob needs your kiss. Good night, I said, setting her down. Hugging her, I whispered, don't be gone too long. You don't want your boyfriend to get lonely. Go sit on the couch and keep your lap open. Your girlfriend will be right back, she replied, slipping out of my arms and heading to Jacob's room. I stretched out on the sofa and turned on the TV. A couple of minutes later, Dawn joined me and we started making out. Things got heated, but when I tried to reach under her blouse, she gently pulled my hand away. I'm sorry, Paul, the first really want you, but it's too soon for that. Please don't hate me. Holding her close, I calmed my lust and kissed the top of her head. I understand, I don't hate you. I meant it when I said I was falling in love with you. I know you need time, and I promise I'll be patient. She buried her face in my chest and quietly cried, dampening my shirt. That shirt became sacred. I decided I'd never wash or wear it again. Eventually Dawn stopped crying and got up as I walked to the door, and turned to thank her for the meal. She pulled me down for another kiss. Afterward, she opened the door, kissed my cheek, and whispered, "Thank you for being patient. I think I'm falling in love with you too." Hearing this made me ecstatic. I told her, "Actually, that makes me feel a lot better. Good night, my darling." She smiled and closed the door. The next morning I went to work, but my mind was on Dawn with Tiffany. The ZX was amazing, but our relationship was shallow. We had good times, but didn't maintain a meaningful connection. Solving problems with money instead of therapy might have made it easy for my brother Eric to seduce her. With Dawn, we liked each other and were affectionate. Since sex was off the table, we focused on building our relationship. Just a couple of months in, I felt truly committed. I was confident Dawn would never cheat, and I hoped she felt the same. I was optimistic, but knew I needed to be patient. As I promised, we discussed personal preferences and long-term goals. Gallup was temporary for both of us, and we hoped to move together when the time was right. I didn't pressure Dawn about my big goal of having a baby and being a father, though I longed for it. After my brief experience with little Paul at 37, I wanted to experience fatherhood again before people mistook me for a grandfather. One warm Saturday afternoon in October, while sitting alone in my trailer, I overheard Dawn and Mrs. Meyer talking. Dawn had just paid Mrs. Meyer for babysitting, and they were making small talk until Mrs. Meyer switched to giving her opinion on Dawn's life. Mrs. Meyer was a great sitter for Jacob, but also a busybody who loved giving advice. I heard her say, "Jacob is such a sweet boy. He shouldn't grow up as an only child. He needs a sibling. Don't you agree?" Dawn replied, "A brother or sister would be nice, but I'm not in a position to." Mrs. Meyer laughed. "Not in a position? You've got a man who's crazy about you. You better get in position, preferably under him." "Yes, Paul's my boyfriend, but we haven't." "Oh, I know. I've seen him walking funny back to his trailer, like he's carrying something heavy in his briefs." "Forget security cameras." Mrs. Meyer saw everything. She continued, "If I was 15 years younger, I'd be all over that man. There are plenty of women here wanting him, but he's only got eyes for you for now anyway." I knew Dawn was flustered. Mrs. Meyer's loud voice carried clearly, "Dawn, you're the queen of Paul Scott's heart, but to keep him you need to take him to bed soon. He and your son adore each other. Imagine how happy he'd be if you gave him a child." Mrs. Meyer was right. I'd be overjoyed if Dawn got pregnant. I hoped Dawn would take her advice to heart. That night I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Despite drinking 3 more beers, I kept imagining a pregnant Dawn. The promise to be patient felt heavier than ever. The night was hot and humid, and rain was forecasted. I heard a key in my door. Dawn was the only one with a key. I pretended to sleep to see what she'd do. She removed her shoes and padded into my bedroom, kissing me gently. I reached up to her, but she pushed my hands away and asked, "Do you really love me?" What I could have given a long explanation, but I kept it simple. "Of course I do. If that's true, then do everything I say. No questions." This was unexpected. My gentle, passive girlfriend was now giving me orders. What had Mrs. Meyer's talk done? I nodded in agreement. The streetlights provided enough light to see Dawn in her old bathrobe, hair and a loose bun. She pulled a sleep mask from her pocket and blindfolded me. "Things were getting interesting. What about your ex-wife? What if she wants to reconcile?" I shook my head angrily. "No, she's nothing to me after what she did." She continued, "What about the women in the trailer park?" Mrs. Meyer said, "Many want to sleep with you. They're prettier and willing. You wouldn't have to wait anymore." Trying to clear my head, I said, "Dawn, I don't want anyone else. I'm all yours. You showed me I could love again." Suddenly she kissed me. "I know waiting has been hard for you. It's been hard for me too, but I'm still dealing with trauma from my ex." Horrified, I responded, "Dawn, you know I'd never force you, right? Yes, you've been loving and kind. Even Jacob noticed, but I'm not ready for that yet. You've been so patient." After Mrs. Meyer told me about other women, I wanted to give you some relief. "You definitely did. If you'll untie me, I'd like to return the favor." "I'm sorry, but I'm still not ready for that." My heart sank, but she added, "I have another idea." I was all ears. "What do you have in mind?" "You just lay there and listen, okay?" I agreed, wondering what she planned. She told me about her past, and I listened. When I took off the sleep mask, she was tying her robe. "I have to get back to my trailer. Jacob will wake soon." Clutching her robe, she bent over and kissed me. "I love you, Paul. We'll be together soon, I promise." After our early morning moment, I was even more in love with Dawn at home. I took every chance to caress her Jacob, and I even made a game of it. If I kissed Dawn, I'd ask Jacob, "What day is it?" If he said it was double kiss day, I'd kiss her again. He loved deciding how many kisses his mommy got. When we went out together, I became more protective, feeling our relationship was getting serious. I withdrew $2,500 from savings and bought her a 2014 Toyota Corolla, so she didn't have to take the bus to work. The exterior was rough, but I had it checked to ensure it was safe. Dawn laughed, cried, and then took me to her trailer, where we made out like kids. On our first date, I took Dawn to the eye doctor. He gave her medicated eye drops for her dryness, and we ordered new glasses. A couple of weeks later she had new Dolce & Gabbana frames transforming her look into a hot naughty librarian. I kept jokingly asking her to shush me and charge overdue fines. Work was going well too. I was converted to full-time status with benefits, got a raise, and a month later was promoted to shipping supervisor. Feeling optimistic, I decided to buy an engagement ring and propose at the company holiday party in December. Even though my divorce wouldn't be final until March, I figured a diamond ring would reassure Dawn about our future. For Thanksgiving, I asked Dawn to be my date to the holiday party. She hesitated, feeling her clothes weren't nice enough. Mrs. Meyer suggested her sister Betty Ward, a retired seamstress. Betty took Dawn's measurements and returned in 2 weeks with a beautiful party dress. They kept it a surprise from me. On the night of the party, I went next door to pick up Dawn. Mrs. Meyer was there to babysit Jacob. When I mentioned the party would be over by midnight, she laughed and said, "If you bring her home before morning, there's something seriously wrong with you." Then I heard Dawn's soft voice, "I'm ready." Paul the first turned, and my jaw dropped. Dawn wore a bright red knee-length dress with a low back and one shoulder sleeve that modestly concealed her cleavage, but left the other shoulder bare. The dress hugged her curves, disproving her claim of having an ironing board figure. I silently thanked my lucky stars that she was with me. I wore a charcoal-colored wool suit from my vice president days, but I felt like a dull rock next to my stunning date. Miss Meyer had styled Dawn's long dark hair into a braided side bun. Her red shoes matched the dress and were sensible flats, unlike Tiffany's dangerous 4-inch heels. Dawn was undeniably the most beautiful woman at the party. When we walked into the hotel ballroom, many younger guys checked out my date. I put a possessive arm around her and asked, 20 feet in and guys are already checking you out, should I be worried? She kissed my hand and said, "Paul, I'm not Tiffany, you'll never have to worry about me." We found seats, and I got a champagne. The DJ announced it was time to dance, starting with a slow song. Dawn and I danced, continuing through the next slow song. When the music got faster, we returned to our seats. A younger executive asked Dawn to dance, but she politely refused. Another executive from sales asked her, and I encouraged her to go for one dance. I watched him draw her close but kept my cool, ready to act if necessary. Soon he whispered something in her ear. Dawn pulled away and returned to our table, visibly upset. That man invited me to his room later. He doesn't even know me. I switched from jealous to concerned. "Are you all right?" "Yes," I told him. The only man I was interested in sharing a bed with was the man who brought me, and then I walked away, processing her words. I asked Dawn, "Are you saying?" Before I could finish, she slipped into my lap and kissed me passionately. "Yes," she whispered, "you've been loving and patient, making me feel secure. I'm not afraid anymore." "Paul, let's get a room and go upstairs." The second chapter of my life began in room 538 of the historic El Rancho Hotel on Route 66. Once inside, I grabbed a small bottle of champagne from the minibar. Expensive, but worth it. I poured as a glass and took her out on the balcony. The sun had set, and the city lights provided a beautiful view. Holding her from behind, I reflected on my journey months ago. I was devastated by my wife and brother's betrayal, losing half my fortune. Now I had reset my life with a decent job and a woman who restored my confidence. I was ready for the next step. As it got cooler, I covered her with a shawl, then knelt and took out the ring box. Lost in thought, she didn't notice until I tickled her bum. Laughing, she turned and asked, "Paul, what are you doing?" Her words died when she saw me on one knee. She burst into tears. "Happy ones, I hoped." "Aurora Don Santos," I began. "You